thing. There are people there that they're sending me things like this. Somebody sent me this photo. I would imagine they've already gone in. This guy in the middle here, this is Mark Thomas Williams, or Mark Williams Thomas, or whatever he's called. And you know, who, as I was saying, I used to have a lot of respect for, but I've sort of gone off him since he decided that Oscar Pistorius was innocent. But yeah, so it looks like, so I'll say the things that I was saying before when I thought you could see the picture, but you couldn't. Looks like a nice day there. People are milling around. I did then ask them, you know, what is the scene like? Are there a lot of people? Every now and again, I'll just check my phone. I have a feeling they might have gone in now. And then once they've gone in, they won't be able to send any messages. In fact, they may well have their telephones taken off them, I think. But I'm sure there'll be a break time that people can come out there, and then maybe they'll have a chance to send me a message of something. Hi, Debbie. Yes, he's always there, isn't he? He's always there. He looks like he's there on his own. I think he's probably doing a live from outside the inquest. I don't know. I was surprised he didn't apply. I feel like I know Rebecca Day, because I'm sure quite often I've sort of things that I've looked at on the news, like the local things like the Manchester Evening News, the Lancashire Live, etc. I think it's this Rebecca Day. She seems to be quite, you know, she gets involved in all these important cases. So at 9:49, the police liaison officers are on site. Then what time is the inquest due to begin? It's due to start around 10 a.m. 10:01, the inquest. This is what we were looking for before, wasn't it? The timings of the day. So the inquest will run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then there'll be a lunch break. So that's 2 o'clock in Spain. Okay. And then from 2 p.m. till 4 or 5 p.m. That's what we were saying, wasn't it? All those attending the inquest. Gosh, my voice is going already. Will it even last through this inquest? All those attending the inquest are being escorted in and around the building. The vast majority of Lancashire Coroner's officers and clerks are here. Security guards are in the council chamber as members of the public start to be escorted in. Gosh, I bet they've never seen an inquest like this in Preston. So at 10:05, witnesses are being brought in ahead of evidence sharing. Witnesses are now being brought into the council chamber. The chamber is a large room with a mezzanine balcony area. The coroner, Dr. James Aidley, will sit at the front with a coroner's officer at his side. Oh, I do feel for these witnesses, I do. I mean, you know, it's not nice. I say it's quite scary when you have to get up and talk about what's happened. Witnesses will take it in turn to sit in the witness box just in front of the coroner, with any family immediately in front of and to the left of the coroner. Gosh, that's so at 10:09, legal teams arrive. Terry Wilcox and Sophie Cartwright KC, part of the legal team representing Nicola's family, have just arrived in court. And they are, gosh, I didn't know they would have legal representatives. I definitely didn't have a legal representative when I attended and gave evidence at the inquest. So that's interesting. So they're sat behind where any relatives sat behind where any relatives will be sitting is a row of 10 people understood to be witnesses. Everyone is being brought into the chamber in small groups. Goodness me. And then it's 10:12, they said that Nicola's partner and sister are set to give evidence during the inquest into her death. And they're due to give evidence tomorrow. Paul Ansell and Louise Cunningham are both listed as witnesses and are due to give evidence on Tuesday. And then 14 minutes past 10, they're just talking about the backstory. This is Paul Britton talking about the backstory. The disappearance of Nicola led to intense public interest, a conspiratorial social media frenzy, criticism of police and media, and questions in Parliament. Her body was found in the River Wyre on February the 19th, around a mile from where she vanished, while walking her dog in St Michael's on the Wyre, Lancashire, on January 27th. Nicola left her home with her two daughters, 6 and 9. So those girls, 6 years old and 9 years old. So sad. And people are out there saying she doesn't exist. I'm sorry, I'm not having that. I think it's disgusting, disgraceful to say that Nicola didn't exist. And these two little girls, aged 6 and 9, they've lost their mum. So she left her home with her two daughters, aged 6 and 9, dropping them off at school and engaging in a brief conversation with another parent around 15 minutes later. So what I want to know is, was that Emma? Who, why don't they say with another parent, Emma White, or another parent, whoever it is? Why don't they say who it is? I just don't understand that. That cannot be, top secret thing. Anyway, presumably there'll be one of the witnesses that will be called. So they're the last person that spoke to her. She then took her spaniel Willow for a walk along the path by the River Wyre. So, of course, Willow is the most important witness, I think. And, of course, Willow is a dog and unfortunately can't speak. But to me, she can speak. She has spoken because she wasn't, she wasn't sat there by the river where Nicola supposedly went in howling like she should have been. Like most dogs would do, or they would jump. There's so many photos of Willow in the river. She liked the water. I know it's freezing cold that day, but our dogs, when we go to the beach, we take the dogs to the dog beach, and you go in the water and you try and swim, and they come out and grab you and try and bring you back in. They don't understand that you're okay and that you're in there for a reason. Oh, thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. They don't understand that, a lot of dogs, so yeah, we go into the water and the next minute, and it doesn't matter so much with my dogs because they're only little, but my son's dog is a German Shepherd, and she comes and she grabs your bikini bottoms or whatever and just pulls you out. It's like, no, what you're doing, sort of thing. So I can't believe that if Willow saw Nicola go into that water that she wouldn't have jumped in after her, and she wasn't wet. They said she wasn't wet. And she wasn't sitting on the bank crying either. So, yeah. Now, we don't know who's been called today, Vicky, do we? We'll find out by the end of today. My chatters, let's call them my chatters, who are there, they'll let me know, if not in the break or in the lunch break, who so far will have given their evidence. So we will find out. But, well, Vicky, even if a dog hates water, right? So Willow didn't hate water. My dogs don't hate water. But I did have a little dog that hated water. Before I had these dogs, I had 2 dogs. And 2 very small dogs. I mean, the dogs I've got now are sort of medium size, I suppose, medium to small. But one of my dogs, Bella, her name was, she hated the water. She absolutely hated it. And one night we went swimming in August, like at midnight. You go for a midnight swim because it's so hot and the water's nice. So I'm always it always reminds me a bit of Jaws, the film. I'm always a little bit scared of going in the water, just in case there's a shark. But this little dog of mine, Bella, I was in the sea and I was trying to get her to come in, Well, she didn't want to get her paws wet. She hated getting her paws wet. So do you know what she did? She literally jumped from the beach, from just outside the water, jumped as far as she could and landed in my arms. So it was like I'm not going to get my feet wet, but I want to come and be with you, so I'll jump. That's what she did. So I think dogs, you know, there's not many dogs, especially a dog who did like the water and was always you know, going in the water. There's so many photos of Willow in the water. She wasn't frightened of the water. So that's you know, that surely has got to be. Do they take I don't know if they take that sort of thing into account. Well, I suppose not. You can't take a dog's testimony into account, can you? But you can use, if you've got no proof. It's another thing that confirms that to me that she did it. If you've got no proof she went in the water, it's just as ridiculous to say, oh no, she went in the water, when there's no proof she went in the water. There's no proof she went in the water. There's no proof she didn't go in the water. There's, you know, so this is why I feel that it's got to be an open verdict, because to me, unless somebody actually saw Nicola going in the water, unless she actually left a note to say she was going to do something, unless there, you know, there actually is some evidence that comes out over these next 2 days, I can't see how you could prove that it was S. It was the big S. And the coroner has to prove it. And if he can't prove it, then he has to declare an open verdict and see if things come out later. Lancs Live. Right, let's have a look. So it might have come up on the map. I like the Lancashire Lives, the information that they give, but they have so many adverts, it just drives you absolutely bonkers. Let's see if there's been any... See, really, what evidence can she give? Because she, you know, she wasn't there, was she? I don't know what evidence she can give. Well, I suppose she's the person in charge, so we still wait. Oh my goodness! So at 10:32, oh no, right. So at 10:20, senior police officers arrive. 3 senior police officers from Lancashire Constabulary have just been brought in, including Detective Superintendent Rebecca Smith. The coroner's officer has just arrived in court and he's placing files and documents in front of where the coroner will sit. Well, we saw that earlier. So at 10:32, it still hadn't started. So that's 3 minutes ago. We're still waiting for proceedings to begin. Witnesses are still being brought in, and we don't appear to have any members of the public yet. So I bet they're going through their bags, taking their phones off them, etc. All press and members of the public were required to register their attendance in advance as places were limited. Several members of the public were seen being turned away at the security cordon outside the entrance to County Hall, as they had not registered it in advance. Well, you know, as you know, I let everybody know how to apply. I did a video on how to show people how to apply, but of course not everybody sees my videos, unfortunately, because then they wouldn't have had a wasted journey. I hope they haven't gone too far, and also hope they go away quietly. What I would hate to see happen is some sort of a riot outside, you know, or anything like that. I would hate to see that. I think that would be very disrespectful. So the thing is, we've just got to let the inquest take its course, and at the end of it decide then what we think once we've had the result. We've got no choice. That's what we have to do. Oh, now it's talking about Mr. Aidley. He's the most senior coroner in Lancashire and he has a wealth of experience. Readers may have seen him on the recent documentary Cause of Death. He's a former ENT consultant and a barrister. Lancashire also has 2 area coroners as well as several assistant coroners. So that's, yeah, I knew it. he's got a big job to do, but I think if anyone can do it, it's him. He is the most experienced coroner. You know, he's been a coroner for about 30 years, I think, so he's got plenty of experience. So we've just got to rely on him. Just make sure you're all still okay in the chat. Yeah, there's still quite a lot of people, quite a lot of you there. I presume you're coming and going, which is fine. Coming and going, and if you manage to bring any information in, that's great. But let's see. What I said to the people that I know that are going, something that I'd be very interested to see is, yeah, you know, when we talk about the family, quite often the family is talked about. Yeah, God bless Olivia, Mia. I mean, very sad. That's another very sad case. It's like it's just one after another, isn't it? You know, when we quite often they talk about the family, and we don't really know who they mean by the family. Do they mean Dot, Ernie and Louise, or do they mean all of them? Dot, Ernie, Louise, and Paul. And then Emma sometimes calls herself the family, and or doesn't bat an eyelid when people refer to her as the family, etc. Or when they refer to her as right, so there are news reporters inside Sky News, Channel 4, etc. So that means that later we should get some reports from them then. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, as I say, it'll be in the break or at lunchtime, but I think what will happen, it'll be like this, like build up, and then it'll be boom, won't it? A load of information coming out all at once. Everybody will be trying to tell us. But the thing is, we'll have on this channel some first-hand information from people that are actually there at the court and taking notes. So no matter what the mainstream media say, gosh, sorry, my voice is going. No matter what the mainstream media say, we will get an insight as to what actually really has happened. Right, let's go back, see if there's anything on Manchester Evening News again. No, I think it's. Yeah. Still hasn't said it's even started. So what I want to look at is how can a coroner establish the big S? Because I was reading, the reason that I don't think it's going to end up with that verdict is, I was reading that even when it's cut and dried, because I was thinking about that in the case of my ex-partner, it was totally cut and dried. You know, he left notes, several notes to me, to his family, to his children, you know, so it was pretty evident. The police found him, you know, it was pretty evident what had happened, but it still had to be an inquest and still had to be witnesses. And all those things had to be corroborated about his state of mind, because the other thing they have to prove is not only that they did it, but that they meant to do it. Because sometimes people, he had previously to that done things like taken, you know, tablets, etc. But the general feeling from the paramedics that came out was that he, you know, sometimes people do things and it's not a genuine attempt. It is a cry for help. Sometimes that does happen. So people do it, but it's almost, maybe it's a practice, a build-up leading up to the final thing. Or sometimes people just do it without any warning. My partner, he was one of those people who did, you know, they say, oh, people who talk about it don't do it. They do. They do. They do. They may not do it, you know, straight away, but just because you can't assume that because they're talking about it, they're never going to do it. They do, and he talked about it for a long time while we were together. He talked about us committing suicide. I'm not supposed to say that word. About us doing it together. You know, it was terrifying to be with someone like that who's thinking along those lines. Very scary, and nobody believes you. You know, when you try and say to people, like when we split up and I was like hiding from him, basically moving from place to place to not, so that he didn't know where I was. People don't believe you, even your own friends, because they can't believe that he would do, well, no, he wouldn't do anything to you because he loves you and blah, blah, blah. That's why he would do something. And it's not love, it's obsession. When someone gets obsessed, that is not love. If you love someone and you split up, you wish them the best, you pat them on the head, you say, go and, have a good life. I'm sorry it can't be with me, but I just want you to be happy. That's what you do when you love someone. When you're obsessed with someone, basically what you're saying is, if you're not going to be with me, you're not going to be with anybody else. That's a whole different thing, and it is terrifying. Right, sorry, so I got sidetracked then as usual. How can a coroner establish suicide? Gosh, I keep saying that word, I've got to stop saying it. Let's see. Yeah, they've got to have intent. So it's not only that they've, it's one thing to prove that maybe they've done it to themselves, but it's got to be proven that they intended to do it, not that it was accidental. It literally, let's see what it says here. Yeah, intentional self-harm. So sometimes, if you, gosh, there's lots on this. Proof, the standard of proof is needed to the level of evidence needed by the coroners determining whether a death is. Let me go into that one, that looks interesting. All right, so apparently, so it's always under review as to what the impact is, what the standard of proof is. It's always under review, so quite often it's reviewed and new thresholds are given out. I'm trying to find what the absolute current one is. How do I change? Oh God, it's quite long, so I won't go into all that, but let's see. There is a lower standard of proof now than there was before, but it doesn't actually say what it is. What is, right, standard of proof, let's see if I can find it. Standard of proof. Yeah, and also, of course, the family can challenge it. So I'm just reading this article here that's on a solicitor's website talking about a particular case where somebody was found in their prison cell. Sometimes I wonder that, when you hear of these things in prisons, you wonder, don't you, what really happened to them. But anyway, what have I got up on there now? Right, sorry, I'm going to go back to the Manchester Evening News and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, gosh. Right, so they've arrived together. So Nicola's family have arrived in court. Am I sharing this? Yeah, I think I am. But I don't know if you can read it. Yeah. Nicola's family have arrived in court. Paul is sat next to Nicola's sister, wearing a light blue long-sleeved shirt. He has remained silent, coming into court expressionless. Must be difficult. It must be difficult if we... Gosh, what's going to happen? Oh, yeah. Oh, so you were reading it out, Jennifer. So they've all just arrived in court and they are sat on the front row. I remember sitting on the front row. Paul is sat next to Nicola's sister, Louise Cunningham, wearing a light blue, long-sleeved shirt. He has remained silent since coming into court. Expressionless, he's looking straight ahead to where the coroner will sit. Nicola's sister Louise is glancing around the room while her parents Ernest and Dot Bulley are sat silently. So yeah, so those of you out there thinking that Nicola didn't exist or believing in, I don't believe the psyop stuff, and these are real people, and this is what they're having to face. And even PA, you know, because we don't know for certain if he did anything or what he did or what he didn't do. It's like being thrown to the lions, isn't it? You know, it's not easy. You know, I don't wish those sort of things on anybody. I just remember, yeah, I think that must be why they sit you at the front, because I remember sitting at the front and not really seeing what was behind me. I was aware that there was a lot of people there, but I didn't really take that much notice. But of course, it's not like this. But I was aware that my ex-partner's children, two teenage daughters, were in there, so it was difficult. But anyway, nothing like this. Imagine all those people in there. Gosh, they must wonder what the hell's going on. Excuse me. Oh, I think it's the air conditioning. It's giving me a dry throat. Yeah, dear me. Yeah, I'm a bit speechless actually, because it sort of just brings back memories. But yes, I wonder if Emma was invited. Emma's got to be a witness at some time, surely, because isn't she the one that saw her and waved at her and went on her busy routine of the day? So surely Emma's got to be there. I'd like to know, and I'll find out off my friends later. I would like to know, I mean, obviously they're all sitting together as the family, like if there's any interaction between them. What do you think? I wonder, what do Ernie and Dot really think about Paul? You know, it's strange that there's never any photos of them with him. You know, all the photos are either with Nicola, with him and friends, etc., or Nicola with her family. We've not seen, you know, and that doesn't mean there aren't any. I'm just saying that out of all the photos that have come out, there's been loads of photos, isn't there? Because people in the early days were on the Twitter accounts and the Facebook accounts, and that's probably not many photos that we've not seen that were on public display. Why is that? You know, do you think they don't like him? And if that was true, about if the photo that I was sent, that where it looks like Nicola's got a very big bruise on her neck round about Christmas time, if that was true, you know, if that was your sister, your daughter, etc., you would, and you thought that had happened, you know, maybe she stayed away from her parents. Maybe she didn't want them to see that, or well, she's got long hair anyway, so she could cover it up with her hair. Yeah, I don't know. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? Really. I'd just like to know what the interaction is between them. So are they chatting? Are they comforting each other? Or is it very much sort of PA and then Ernie Dot and Louise like separate? Or is that, you know, are they like a family? Because I don't know that I've ever seen anything to suggest that. But that doesn't mean there isn't. Let's see any development. No, it's still just so. I don't think it's actually even started yet. Still, has it? Well, they've not. Wonder how they're sort of processing this information. Is it? Are they tweeting it, or obviously they've got somebody in there. It says that somebody's commented on it, but I can't find. Let's see. No, I can't see any comments. It says 2 comments. I think you have to log in to get comments. Right, I'm just going to have a look also on Sky News. See if there's any information on there. Oh. Oh, sorry, I've got sidetracked there with messages. Right, gosh, it's easy to get. Hope you're all okay there, aren't you? I know you're all chatting between yourselves anyway. Let's have a look. Aviva Lola, Ansel is a common name. It's a common name in that part of the world. So I don't know is the answer to that. If there's, there was things, was it related to the guy that was arrested for drugs, etc. in Blackpool? But I do think Ansel is a common name, to be fair. I don't know much about Paul, like where he was actually born or brought up, or, we know more about Nicola, don't we? That, she was born in Essex, obviously, but don't really know about Paul. I presume he's local to the area, but we don't know anything about his family or, what about his mum and dad or whatever. We don't seem to know anything about that. But it is a common name, but that doesn't mean to say that necessarily he isn't related. I think basically all I'm saying is I actually don't know. There you go. There's another Ansel that Ali always knows about, little Fitz. But we'd have to look into, the actual family tree, etc. And maybe in a future. At the moment, we've all been it's all been about this. So let's have a look. Has it even started yet? Yeah, no, I don't think there's been any update. So I bet they're bringing in now the people. They'll be bringing in, because before that they hadn't brought in the public. So they've brought in the family first, which I think is good. Bringing the family first, they'll be just sat right at the front looking straight ahead, and then the public will come in behind, I suppose, because probably to cause the minimum anxiety to the family. Has anyone ever known anything like this? I mean, seriously, because bearing in mind it's not a murder trial, you know, it's a coroner's inquest. I don't know if I've ever heard of a coroner's inquest that's called, you know, when people are on trial, like Peter Tobin or Ian Huntley, or some of them, the Yorkshire Ripper, etc., and they're taken off the trial, and there's always like, you know, big sort of uproar and lots of publicity, etc., and the public turning up and banging on the vans as they go past with the perpetrators in them, etc. But for an actual coroner's inquest, so where there's not, it's just to establish really a cause of death, it's not a criminal trial. I've never known anything like. Can anybody think of any? I tell you, might know. Ali, you'll know maybe because you know about these things. Any other case that you can think of where an inquest has caused quite so much? Hi, Deborah. Oh, that's interesting, Deborah. Yes, please, any information will be very welcome, because it's good to hear from people who actually know. Witnesses now, but look, Jennifer's like, hi, Ghost Panther, thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much. Right, Jennifer's reading it out for me. So, Princess Tippy Toes, you shouldn't be having a problem at the moment. Is anyone having a problem viewing the channels? It could be your internet. You know, if you've got a problem with your internet, you want to get one of these gadgets that my son told. Oh, it's brilliant. You just plug into your computer, and it just concentrates your internet, and it makes a massive difference. But as far as I know, hi Chumba, people will let me know. Let me know if any of you are having problems with the chat. It seems to be okay, isn't it? Let me know, because Princess Tippy Toes was saying she's been having a few problems. No problems, yeah. It's a public inquest, but whoever is supposed to be an open public court. But do you remember any other case that's attracted any public inquest that has attracted this much attention, as opposed to a criminal trial, but just an inquest to establish it? I can't think of any similar case, but you may know better. Yeah, and David, lots of missing people don't attract this attention. Oh, you're welcome, Ghost Panther. Thank you for joining. Now, somebody said somewhere there, so Street Hawk said you filmed the area. Yes, because, yeah, always interested in, there's one thing that's a shame, you know, with Curtis, a lot of you know about Curtis Media. I don't necessarily agree with his methods of interviewing the locals, but there's beautiful videos that he made. Very, you know, like and it's anyone who's made videos of the area, it's nice to see it. I think the first time I actually saw the area was on the Sky News. And I just couldn't believe how sort of open it was. And I was thinking, well, surely somebody would have seen her if she jumped into the river. You know, I imagine that it'd be like wooded, you know, and that's why nobody had seen her. So it's always interesting to see Jennifer's updating us here. Legal teams arrived, Terry Wilcox and Sophie Cartwright. So that must be... Let's see. Chumba, you haven't missed too much. It's just really, they're just going in. The actual inquest hasn't started yet. I've got a photo, yeah, free speech and all that. I do. I feel for Curtis, but perhaps it could have been a bit more discreet. That's all. But I don't know. That's when you live in a little village, it's hard to explain. I live in a little village, and you would stand out like a sore thumb. You couldn't, if not only Curtis, but anyone who wasn't from my village just walk down my street. Not me, because I don't even look out the window half the time. But the Spanish that live in this village, they all know each other, and even foreign people that live here, they know the foreign people that live here. So there was a new one, like going around. They'd be talking about it, be the talk of the village. It would, because small villages, they don't have much going on. So it's like, and gosh, they've had all this drama going on. It'd be like jungle drums, smoke signals going around the village if something happened here. It reminds. That's why I think I have this a little bit of a sympathy for the village, because it reminds me of the village where I live, and they live in that village because they like a quiet life. If they didn't want a quiet life, they wouldn't live in that village. They'd go and live in Manchester somewhere, or in a bit more livelier place. They live there because they want a quiet life. So, the coroner has addressed the family. Let's have a look. Right, okay. So the coroner is in court and addresses the family. I'm sorry that you're attending court under these circumstances. Now, I could get upset now. I'm sorry. It's just a matter of time before I get upset, I suppose. So, Dr. Aidley says, I am sorry that you're attending court under these circumstances. You have my deepest condolences, and I would be grateful if you would pass that on to the children who are not in court for obvious reasons. And then the family have told the coroner to refer to Nicola as Nikki. And Dr. Aidley says he's aware there is extensive social media and press interest. I mean, it's like it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? The media interest and the social, like social media, like us doing, discussing this and that, and people might think it's not right, but it's a double-edged sword, because it's because that we care. And I wonder if the family sort of, just want to know, are they grateful that people care, or do they just wish that we'd all just leave them alone? Or, gosh, I don't know. I don't know how they feel it'd be. It must be torture, to be honest, for them to be in there with all those people around them in another way. But will they feel like those people are rooting? They should be feeling that those people are rooting for Nicola. Apart from the idiots, some idiots are out there saying she wasn't a real person and referring to her as bully and can't even be bothered to say her whole name. That just drives me absolutely bonkers. You hear that a lot on the news as well, and things, when people are talking about cases, reporters are talking about cases, and they refer to them by their surnames. It drives me mad. Not if they're talking about someone who's done something terrible, like the actual culprit of a crime, but when they talk about victims of a crime and they refer to them by their surname, I just think it's disgusting. Okay, right. So we've got some information now about day one witnesses. So witnesses given evidence on the first day. The Home Office pathologist, which We're still not given a name. It's really, I tried to find out the name of the home. We think we know who it is, but Mr. Aidley would not give me their name. A police diver, Professor Tipton and Dr. Morgan, who are experts in how people drown, an expert on body flotation after death, 9 members of the public who were in the area of the River Wyre when Nikki went missing, and Detective Superintendent Rebecca Smith. So these are all the witnesses that will be talking today on the first day. The pathologist, a police diver, Professor Tipton and Dr. Morgan, who are experts in how people drown, an expert on body flotation after death, 9 members of the public who were in the area of the River Wyre when Nikki went missing, and Detective Superintendent Rebecca Smith. The second day of the inquest, we'll hear from a doctor, Nikki's GP, and members of her family. So we won't be hearing from the members of her family by the sound of it until tomorrow. We'll be hearing from a doctor, her GP. So, oh gosh, so, you know, things are going to come out about her medical records, etc. Gosh, what do we think of that then? What, you know, I'm coming back to see what you've got to say. Sounds like it, doesn't it? Might be drowning. You know, the cause of death would be drowning. Thank you, Betty. Thank you for sharing that. Ah, you're on, Princess Tippy Toes. You finally got on. Lara, very emotional day. Very emotional day. That's just made me quite emotional with the. Well, it's do you know he's just, you know, it's just that little. You can. Oh God, I just don't know how they're feeling. But see, for me, it just, apart from just normal compassion towards people, it does remind me as well. And he, you know, I remember I think. I don't care what anyone says about the coroner. Part of their job is to be compassionate to the families, etc. That is, you know, how they're chosen to be coroners. But yeah, so the family, yeah, they've said that they want her to be referred to as Nikki. And it was lovely how he brought the children into it, you know, like to give the condolences to the children. It's the children that get you the most, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's the children. Gosh, all these adverts have just come up. Yeah, I mean, that's a lovely thing to say. I'm sorry that you're attending court under these circumstances. You have my deepest condolences. And I would be grateful if you would pass that on to the children who are not in court for obvious reasons. Well, I'm glad I'm not there, because I'd probably be blubbering by now. And it's just, you know, it's not. Anyway. All right, here you go. So the coroner issues a contempt of court warning. The coroner has taken the unusual step of warning members of the public, if anybody has the slightest inclination or is contemplating disrupting this inquest, they should be aware that this may amount to contempt of court. Dr. Aidley said that if any such incidents occur, individuals will be allowed the opportunity to speak to a legal advocate before being brought before him here at County Court Hall, charged with contempt of court. And the coroner warned that the consequences could be a significant fine or prison. Good. good, because if anybody, you know, whatever you think happened, or if, you know, we don't like Paul, or we don't like Emma, or whatever, we're not there to disrupt, you know, nobody should be there disrupting the inquest, because that just shows a complete lack of respect for Nicola, or Nikki. So the family wanted to be called Nikki. I've got this, I don't know where it came from. I think it's from being a teacher. I find it really difficult to use people's shortened names. You know, I always end up saying their full name. I find it hard to say Nikki. I want to say Nicola always, and not only with Nikki. Right, I'm going to say Nikki from now. You know, I quite often want to say something like, instead of Dave, I like to say David, or, you know, etc. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's my old school thing again, or maybe it's just a teacher thing. So, oh dear. It's very, very sad. Oh, Pauline. I'm okay. Just remind, you know, I don't want it to be about me. It just remind, you know, it just brings back memories. So. Just brings back memories. And you know, that's it. It's been so long, isn't it? You know, it's gone on since January, really. If you think you take it back all that time, and coming to this and find it, you know, it just is very emotional. I think it is emotional for us all. But I know, yeah, I don't like short. You know, when I had my son, I was very careful to choose a name that couldn't be shortened. You know, because some of the names that I was thinking about, trying to think, I can't remember them now, but there's various names. I was thinking, oh no, because that'll get shortened to this, or that'll get shortened to that. So I chose a name that couldn't. Oh, thank you, Desi. I could do with some hugs at the moment. Yeah, would that be nice, Ali? We could do that. We could have a minute's silence at some point, couldn't we? I don't, you know, maybe at the end of the inquest or something like that, or a little, maybe even. I know this sounds ridiculous, but we could do like a completely silent live stream. But then how would we know that we were? I've got to think about that. But yeah, something, some sort of tribute, maybe a silence in the chat, like you say, for a minute at some point, maybe tomorrow, as we get the results of the inquest. We can do that, can't we? We'll do something. It's difficult to know what to do. Right, let's see if there's been any other development. Don't think so. Yeah. So the last thing that's come up there, one witnesses. So the coroner's telling people not to issue. The coroner's issued a contempt of court warning. So that was at 11:10. So that's 5 minutes ago. So no one's actually been called yet. So what was the timing of the? Let's go back to the time, because in fact I need to write that down so I don't have to keep looking down for it. What time the inquest is due to begin? Oh, earlier there was a thing that was saying it would start at. There it is. So this is the timing of the inquest. So it'd be 10 to 1 p.m. But of course it started late, so I don't know how that will affect that, whether it'll still finish at 1 p.m. Lunch break. Then from 2 p.m. until 4 or 5 p.m. Okay, so it's only just really got started, so let's see what happens with that timeline. I might have to go and get some water or a cup of tea, possibly. Still, so I think while it's just gone, there's nothing else come up on there. Well, that's. I'm just going to go and get a cup of tea. Don't go anywhere. If I stay and chat, I will literally be 2 minutes. I'm just going to get a cup of tea. Annie, I'm not sure what time. I'm sort of playing it by ear a little bit at the moment. I was going to have like a little break and whatever, but I'm thinking when I have a break, that's when my chatters who are there will be able to let me know their updates and that. So I think I'm probably just going to end up being on live, and then people can come and go as they like. And then the roundup. Yeah, that's a good idea. So at some point, so that's going to be maybe. So I've got to wait then to see again that the people that I know that are there, give them a chance to get home, send whatever information they've got. And so I'm thinking about 8 o'clock UK time, which is 9 o'clock in Spain, for a roundup, for a summary of everything. Because some people, of course, will be at work and they won't be able to. Some people are at work and they won't be able to watch anything yet, and they'll want. I'm going to go and make a cup. I'm dying for a cuppa, actually. I wish I could make you all a cuppa, but anyway, that's a nice idea, Pauline. You're going to throw some flowers in the River Severn to send love to all those who have drowned in rivers because you can't get to the wire. Well, that's it, does it? You know what? You don't have to be in the physical place. Depending on what you believe, I'll tell you what I believe is when somebody passes from this world, they're all around. There are no limits. So my belief is, so it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be at the graveside. You don't, as long as they're in your thoughts, they're sort of all around you. That's my opinion anyway. So, right, I'm going to make a cup of tea. Yeah, don't worry if you have to leave the live, no problem. Right, I'll leave you to just chat a minute. I'm just going to turn off my camera a sec. Shall I put something on for you to look at? That might be a nice thing to do while I just go and make a cuppa. Let's see, what have I got that I can put on? Let's have a look at some of Emma's interviews we could have a look at. Oh, not that one. No, not that one.
Coping, her children and yours?
Yeah, I think children are quite resilient, aren't they? But obviously asking questions each day. I know the girls, when they get home from school, say, any news on mummy? And Paul has to say no. And Paul says he can just see the little girls just deflate. The little girl saying, is my mummy famous? And what didn't quite know how to answer that myself. It's for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely.
Simple, just bring Nikki home. And I've said, we'll bring Nikki home, come to the sofa with the girls, with Willow, and you can have that happy story because that's what we're keeping hopeful.
Coping, her children and yours?
Yeah, I think children are quite resilient, aren't they? But obviously asking questions each day. I know the girls, when they get home from school, say, any news on mummy? And Paul has to say no. And Paul says he can just see the little girls just deflate. I know the little girl saying, is my mummy famous? And what didn't quite know how to answer that myself. It's for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely. And what do you want now? I think it's simple, isn't it?
Simple, just bring Nikki home. And I've said, we'll bring Nikki home, come to the sofa with the girls, with Willow, and you can have that happy story because that's what we're keeping hopeful.
Right, I'm back. Yeah, go make a cuppa. I've got my cuppa. I've got the tea bag in. I'm just letting it brew. If you're from Manchester, you'll know that expression. Got to let it brew. Oh. Whew. Strong cup of tea. I don't take sugar anymore. I have a sweetener, but I think today's perhaps a day where it would have been quite nice, wouldn't it, to have some sugar. I haven't even got any chocolate in. Okay, let's see if there's anything else has occurred while I've been making a cup of tea. If there's been any more developments on the blog. It's a handy blog that the Evening News are doing there. Let's see, I don't think there's been any development. Oh gosh. Now, I have to warn you here because, you know, they're going to give evidence of how Nicola died. So I'm going to read this out, but I want to warn you if you are sensitive, and I might get quite upset as well. So just to let you know this before. So Home Office pathologist Dr. Alison Armour is giving evidence. She carried out a post-mortem examination on February 21st, 2 days after Nikki's body was found. Dr. Armour says there was a bruise on the back of Nikki's left thigh and grass vegetation around her foot. There were several other bruises on her body, including both on the front and back of her right arm. Front and back of her right arm. There were no signs of trauma to the neck, the inquest hears, and an internal examination found classic signs of asphyxia. The pathologist goes on to detail the rest of her findings. So when she says asphyxia, what does she mean? Does that mean drowning? Right, someone in the chat will know. Classic signs of asphyxia, is that the same as drowning? Right, where's Ali? She knows. Yeah, I haven't got a pot of tea. I think if it carries on like this, I might need more than tea. But yeah, chocolate. I haven't got any chocolate. Can't believe I didn't get any chocolate in. But yes, does somebody know asphyxia? Bruising to back and front of arms. That's what it says. Asphyxia. Right, I'm going to share this. I feel a little bit shell-shocked, actually. Yes, evidence from the pathologist reveals classic signs of asphyxia. A bruise on the back of Nikki's left thigh and grass or vegetation around her foot. Several other bruises on her body, including both on the front and back of her right arm. No signs of trauma to the neck, though. No signs of trauma to the neck. An internal examination found classic signs of asphyxia. You know, I don't know enough about medical things to know exactly what that means. So we're just waiting. That was at 11:24. So Well, I don't know, Princess Tippy Toes, because it says there's no sign of trauma to the neck. There's no sign of trauma to the neck. So how can it be strangulation? Because if it was strangulation, there would be trauma to the neck. Could be suffocation. Of course, suffocation, you know, could be a pillow. Oh, gosh. I feel a little bit sort of strange. Like, so, oh, my God. Sure, well. So that's, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Ali, sorry, I was calling you Ali. I can't get out of it because that's the name that comes up on the thing. But yeah, asphyxia to me would be like somebody putting your hand over your mouth or a pillow over your mouth. Body deprived, that is not drowning, is it? That is not drowning. There's not always trauma to the neck during, I see what you're saying. So the, gosh, I don't know about you. I think we're all a little bit in shock, aren't we? But let's wait and see. Yeah, you're right. It's just started. It's only just started. There's more to come out. So let's see. Classic signs of asphyxia. I would imagine that Nikki's family will have been prepared for this, you know, that will have, because could you imagine just sitting there and then suddenly you hear that? I've got to look this up. Gosh. Oh, hang on. Now it's saying cause of death given as drowning. What? So, 11:30, cause of death given as drowning. Dr. Armour concluded Nikki was alive when she entered the water. She said, I have concluded the cause of death was drowning because of the following factors. The watery fluid within the stomach. The lungs showed typical or classical features we have seen in cases of drowning. What? Okay. So that's what she's saying. The cause of death was drowning. I don't know how that ties in with asphyxia. It seems confusing to me. Oh, they're going to say she fell in, aren't they? The coroner asked Dr. Armour if there was any sign that Nikki had been assaulted or harmed prior to her death. No, there was not, she replies. And the presence of the watery fluid along with the lung changes, in my opinion, confirmed that Nicola Bulley was alive when she entered the water. Oof. And she says, I have concluded the cause of death was drowning because of the following factors. The watery fluid within the stomach, the lungs showed typical or classical features we have seen in cases of drowning. Well, I am a little bit speechless. Classic signs of asphyxia, 1 minute, and then says she definitely drowned. And she had a bruise on the back of Nikki's left thigh and grass or vegetation around her foot. Wow. What do we make of that? I wish he would stop doing. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you fall into, but how would she fall into the water? I don't believe she fell into the water. She's done that walk day in, day out for years. That's what Paul said, and her dad said, years. Even her neighbour said. Everybody's does that walk day in, day out, and everybody's managed not to fall in the water. We'll see. Dumbstruck. I think we're all a bit dumbstruck, aren't we? I mean, she's saying she was alive when she went. Well, this is what the medical person is saying. She was alive when she went into the water because she had water in her tummy. So we'll see. Let's see. Right, let's see. Anything else they've added? Right, now we've got police diver giving evidence. We are now hearing from PC Matthew Thackeray from the police's Northwest Underwater Diving Team. And PC Thackeray has been a police diver for 8 years. Now, I'll tell you, when the Paul and Emma brought in Peter Folding, the police had the right ump. There's a video that I showed of Emma the other day. You could see. She said that there seemed to be some sort of argument between who had the best kit, the police or Peter Folding. And you could see there'd been a little bit of animosity there. And of course, now since Peter released his statement the other day saying that he's not heard from the police, has he, since he declared that she definitely was not in the river. So let's see what Mr. Thackeray says. He's been a police diver for 8 years. He's from the police's Northwest Underwater Diving Team. Gosh. Yeah, we've just got to wait till it comes through. Well, no wonder he gave the contempt of court warning because, gosh. I bet there was a bit of a gasp when, well, we were gasping and we're just watching it here online, going from the pathologist reveals classic signs of asphyxia. Oh, so and then saying that the cause of death was given as drowning. No sign that she'd been assaulted or harmed prior to her death. But see, I don't understand. That's conflicting because 1 minute she was saying there was a bruise on the back of Nikki's left thigh and grass or vegetation around her foot. Then she says there were several other bruises on her body, including both on the front and back of her right arm. And then she said there was no sign she'd been assaulted or harmed prior to her death. So, I mean, I'm not a pathologist, but so what? So is she saying then that she got those bruises I know, you know, I had read that if you've, you know, people that fall into the river, they can end up with bruises and things that are caused by being dragged along the river, etc. So, gosh. Okay, so we'll see what happens. What's our feelings? Let's have a look. I'm going into the... She choked on a peanut, yeah. Yes. Yeah, they should be able... I'm sure they have tested the water. They must have. Yeah, Jennifer, why would she be bruised on her arm and behind the leg? Yeah. Yeah, people do fall over. I've fallen over while I've been walking, but where Nicola was walking, it wasn't right next to the river. It wasn't right next to the river. Okay, Fedra, don't worry. You do come and go. That's it. You've got to go to the bank. You've got to go to the bank. Gosh. I think we're all a little bit. I mean, it's the asphyxia things that got me. Right, let's see. And see if we've got the information from the diver yet. I'll be very interested to see what PC Matthew Thackeray has got to say. Yeah, it hasn't come up yet. They haven't summarised it yet. So the key events so far, if you've only just joined in, is that the Home Office pathologist revealed classic signs of asphyxia, also revealed that there were some bruises on Nicola, but gave the cause of death as drowning and said there were no signs that she had been assaulted or harmed prior to her death. And she said that the presence of the watery fluid, along with the lung changes, in her opinion, confirmed that Nicola Bulley was alive when she entered the water. That's what she says. We're just currently waiting for the summary. 11:34, the police diver started giving his evidence. PC Matthew Thackeray from the police's Northwest Underwater diving team, who's been a police diver for 8 years. He's currently given his evidence. We're just waiting for the summary of that. It must be quite a long evidence that is given, because they've been quite good so far at sort of you know, updating quite quickly, haven't they? So it must be quite a long evidence. I presume he's being will he be in like not cross-examined, maybe is not the right word, but will the coroner be asking him questions as well, or is it just quite a long evidence to give? Gosh. Very difficult as well for Nicola's mum and dad, of course. Gosh. I just think if so, well, okay. So if they're going to say she drowned, she was alive when she went into the water. So that's the conclusion that they've come to. The next thing they're going to try and establish then is, did she fall into the water at accidentally? Was she pushed into the water? But they said that there's no sign that she was assaulted before she went into the water. Or did she throw herself deliberately in the water? So, okay, let's see what they're going to come up with for that to prove that. Yeah, still hasn't updated, so. That evidence, Vicky, was the Home Office pathologist evidence. Yeah, it was the Home Office pathologist evidence. So yes, yeah, we're hearing from the diver, but that's taken quite a long time to come through. I'm a bit speechless because I'm thinking, what? So did she slip and like? There was no. Sally Riley said at the time, she was asked, was there any signs that Nicola had slipped into the river? And she said no. She said no, there was no evidence that she had slipped into the river. So, you know, what they're going to say now that there was evidence. There wasn't. She was asked that categorically at the time when Nicola went missing. Is there any evidence that Nicola slipped into the river? And she said no. Let's see. And so RM42, if you don't want to watch the channel, go and watch another one. You don't have to be here, you know, you'd be welcome to just go somewhere else. To be honest, I personally would prefer it because I can't be doing with you know, any negative thing from people. You don't want to watch it, don't watch it, or go and get yourself a cup of tea. It might cheer you up a bit. And sorry, Desi, don't take it wrong, but I don't want any other channels being mentioned because of things that have happened recently. I don't criticize any other channel and I don't endorse any other channel. If people want to go and watch other channels, that really is fine. I would expect that people would go in between channels. That's what I do. You know, you don't just stick to one channel. You go from channel to channel. But I don't want them mentioned. That's all in the chat. That's all I would say. And if people aren't happy with the way we chat in here, I'd rather actually prefer that they went somewhere else because I don't want to be one of those channels. Thank you. I don't want to be one of those channels where everybody argues in the chat or people talk a load of shite and then comments get removed. I won't remove a comment, but thank you for removing it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we've got a little bit of PC Thackeray's evidence. He's describing the scene of the riverbank where Nikki was last seen. He is using a series of photographs to point out the location in the bench where Nikki's phone was found. These pictures were taken to try to show the slope down the banking towards the river itself. So the images are showing the two areas of sloping, with the second much steeper than the first. PC Thackeray said that although the river level was higher than normal, there was around a 1 meter drop the day that Nikki went missing. So yeah, they're going to try and insinuate that she fell down, aren't they? But Silly Sally Riley said at the time there was no evidence that she'd gone down into the river, slipped into the river. So where's the timeline? Where is the timeline that she was ever there in the first place? Oh, right here. PC Thackeray describes how there is a man-made river wall constructed of large square bricks on the corner of the river, which he said he presumes has been done to prevent the river banking being worn away. The coroner asks, if you were in the water and trying to climb out, would it be possible to find a foothold on the bricks? PC Thackeray replies, no, not at all. It's very difficult to get out of the water here. The coroner asks, if you have fallen and gone over the edge of the steep section, are you going to stop before you hit the water? PC Thackeray replies, no, you would just go into the water. The distance between where Nikki was last seen and where her body was found is around 1.5 miles, PC Thackeray says. There is nothing to grab hold of to help yourself back out. I'm starting to get a little bit angry about this because I want to know who actually saw Nicola, or Nikki, as her family want her to be called. Who actually saw her go there? Where's the witness? How are they proving that she was even there? How are they proving that? Where's the timeline? Oh, hopefully that will come up as we go along. But it just feels... Didn't people jump in the water and just show how easy it was to get out and things like that? And there's not... Oh, well, somebody tell me something that... Princess Tippy Toes. I haven't been looking at Sky News. I should get that up as well. So they said there was no evidence of alcohol in her system. No, of course there was no. Do you know that was one of the worst things that was said about Nicola, as if she might have been drinking that morning. No, what a load of rubbish. Oh, thank you, Laura. I didn't see them, but thank you for that. It's not, honestly, it's not, I don't want to delete any, I just don't want this, you know, each channel has got their own thing, haven't they? You know, I don't criticise other channels on here, I don't bring, anyway, we won't get into, Sally said she walked with, yeah, so, if they're saying on Sky News that there was no alcohol in the system, I think we all more or less knew that, or I certainly would have thought that, you know, because if even if she had a problem with alcohol, gosh, I'm a little bit, why didn't the divers find her on that first day then? If that's what happened and she went right in there, where he's saying she went in, or she may have gone in and, you know, not been able to get out. Why didn't they find her on that first day then? They had everybody in there looking for her. Perhaps that's what they could be asked. Why didn't you find her? Why didn't you find her on that first day? Yeah, the Wild Swimmers, Ghost Panther, they showed how easy it was. I mean, I know it goes to different heights, doesn't it, the river? But everybody was in there looking for it. Everybody was in there looking for her on that first day. All these experts, he was probably in there looking for her. Why doesn't he say why he didn't find her? Right, let's have a look. Any more information? Okay, so for those of you who are just coming in, basically what's been said so far is the cause of death has been given as drowning by Dr. Armour, who is the Home Office pathologist. She said there was a bruise on the back of Nikki's left thigh and grass or vegetation around her foot. There were several other bruises on her body, including both on the front and back of her right arm. No signs of trauma to the neck, and an internal examination found classic signs of asphyxia. Ah, that's right. She said Nikki had not been drinking before her death. The coroner asked her at the time of her death, she had no alcohol in her bloodstream, and Dr. Armour replied, "That's my opinion." That's a funny thing to say, isn't it? That's my opinion. What, don't you know for sure? I mean, you do a test, either she had alcohol in her bloodstream or she didn't. That's a strange thing to say. Okay, so then we've got the police diver who didn't find her on the first day, describing the scene of the riverbank where she was last seen. Series of photos to show the slope. This is just fascinating me. So if they saw that slope down the bank towards the river itself, and the two areas of sloping, why that was examined, wasn't it? So come on, when are you going to come out with why she wasn't found then? He's saying it would have been difficult if you went into the water there and you were trying to climb out. It'd be very difficult to get out of the water. So why didn't they find her? Why didn't they find her? Ah, right, okay. So the water temperature. The temperature of the water when Nikki went missing was 4 degrees Celsius, says the officer. If you're not used to it, then entering water at that temperature would lead to cold water shock. It causes you to gasp and causes your muscles to seize up. We are now watching a video clip filmed on PC Thackeray's body cam, which shows him swimming down the river from the bench to where Nikki's body was found. The video shows PC Thackeray starting from the bench, making his way down the banking and climbing in the water. On the floor of the river, we can see a pile of large rocks with sharp edges. The river is about 4 meters deep at this point, the inquest is told. PC Thackeray filmed the footage on Tuesday, April the 4th, 2023. That was probably the day that Maria Solars, she saw them there, didn't she? This coincides with the statement issued by Lancashire Constabulary and the coroner after speculation mounted when the divers were spotted having returned to St Michael's on Wyre. Okay, so why wasn't she found? So what he's basically saying is she's gone into the water, she's had this cold water shock and drowned, and but they never found her. So police evidence continues. PC Thackeray tells the inquest, "It's my belief that if she did fall in, she was probably floating and being pushed along the flow." But nobody could find her. So she was floating and being pushed along the flow. Let's imagine that she did fall in, she did drown. He seems to be saying that it would have happened quite quickly. If she did fall in, she was probably floating and being pushed along the flow, but nobody could find her. the waders, the Coast Guards, Peter Falding, the police divers, everything that they said they were doing to find her, they couldn't find her, but she was probably floating and being pushed along the flow. Okay, well, we'll see. So what's going to come next from that then? Because we know from other sort of videos we've seen with experts talk about what happens when people drown. They go to the bottom. They go to the bottom. So once they drown, they go to the bottom. So why was Nikki not found? Why was she not found? It's my belief that if she did fall in, she was probably floating and being pushed along the flow. But people were there walking their dogs. Why did they, wouldn't they have seen her? Wouldn't they have seen her? I mean, am I being ridiculous? Or, I'm just thinking there you go. That's the river where lots of people go and walk their dogs. People came and found Willow and found this and found that. And then everybody was there looking for her. He's saying that she would be floating and pushed along the flow, but nobody found her. It's weird, isn't it? Let's see. Maybe we should wait to hear all the evidence. And actually, do you know what, Pauline, you're right. The river wasn't flowing. It was as still as anything. But all right, we know it's tidal. That's what they kept saying. It's tidal. It can go backwards and forwards, etc., etc. If that had happened, let's just suppose that she did slip in. I just don't know why her body has not been found. Why has her body not been found? Got stuck in the mud. She could have, when she might have got stuck in the mud, but why was she not found? Don't you see what I'm saying? It's not a massive stretch of river that they searched, and so many people searched it, and so many. I just don't I'm not even saying that she didn't fall in there. What I'm saying is, why wasn't she found? If she got stuck in the mud, why was she not found? So did they just not search properly? Do you see what I'm saying? It's not even about whether she fell in or not. It's about why she wasn't found. Yeah, and if I don't know. Anyway, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Desi, not only Peter said that people would sink to the bottom, not float. All experts have watched a couple of videos on that from experts who've said that that's exactly what happens when someone drowns. They float. They don't float to the bottom. They sink to the bottom. And yeah, what would the dog have done? The dog would have just done nothing. The dog who likes swimming. I mean, I know it was cold, but come on. Right. Okay. Well, that's just a couple of witnesses, so we've just got to keep. Okay. So the latest, if you're just coming in, and every now and again I have to give a summary, which. I'm sorry for those of you who've already seen it or whatever, just a quick summary. So the inquest has started. The Home Office pathologist has declared the cause of death as drowning, and no evidence that she'd been assaulted before she drowned, although there are bruises. She did go into some bruises, etc. No alcohol in her system, in her opinion. I mean, I don't know why that can't be a scientific fact. Either there was alcohol in the system or there wasn't. And then they've been hearing from the police diver, who's been a police diver for 8 years. He showed a series of photographs to point out the location at the bench and the steepness going down the slope. And he said the river level was higher than normal. He then went on to say that if you were in the water and trying to climb out, you wouldn't be able to get a foothold to get out. He says it's difficult to get out of the water. And if you'd fallen over and gone off the edge of the steep section, would you stop before you hit the water? And PC Thackeray says, no, you just go into the water. There's nothing to grab a hold of to help yourself back out. So that's what he said. He then showed a video clip which he filmed on his body cam. Oh, so they had the body cam working for that, but not at the domestic incident on the 10th of January. They haven't even mentioned that. Whether they're ever going to mention that, I don't know. So they've watched a video clip filmed on his body cam which showed him swimming down the river from the bench to where Nicky's body was found. The video shows PC Thackeray starting from the bench, making his way down the banking and climbing into the water. On the floor of the river, but he climbed into the water, You know, he climbed into the water. Anyway, on the floor of the river, we can see a pile of large rocks with sharp edges. The river is about 4 meters deep at this point, the inquest is told. PC Thackeray filmed the footage on Tuesday, April the 4th. So that was the footage that we saw that Maria filmed of them being in the water, which we would never have known about otherwise. He says that the water temperature was 4 degrees Celsius when Nicky went missing. And if you're not used to it, then entering the water at that temperature would lead to cold water shock. You would gasp and your muscles would seize up. He then said, it's my belief that if she did fall in, she was probably floating and being pushed along the flow, but nobody saw her or nobody found her. Okay, then he goes on to say, PC Thackeray explains that the riverbed does eventually slope up to allow you to stand, but this is approximately 40 meters downstream from where Nicky is believed to have entered the water. It took him 3.5 minutes to get to this location, although he said the speed of the flow was 1 ms or 2 knots on the day she disappeared. PC Thackeray says it would be 2 to 3 minutes before the river would bring you to the first point where a person could climb out. That's an awful long time in very cold water, the coroner commented. Around 100 meters from where Nicky is believed to have entered the water, there is a small island. At this point, PC Thackeray is unable to reach the bottom. The river is about 2 meters deep at this location, the inquest is told. Okay, so it still doesn't answer the question as to why she wasn't found. Then he says, PC Thackeray pointed out that some overhanging trees as he allows the flow of the river to take him downstream. He explains he has done this rather than swim down to illustrate how, even when it is moving slowly, the river flow will take someone downstream. His feet still can't touch the bottom. Yeah, I saw that where he was floating, wasn't he? He was floating that video footage that Maria took, and he was sort of lying back and floating like that. You know, he was obvious to everyone's view. You know, he wasn't hidden. So why did nobody see that? If that's a place where people are coming and going all the time with their dogs, and nobody saw it, and then she wasn't found. Well, Let's have a look what you're all talking about. What do you think? Yes, so 23 days, floating for 23 days. We should be. Oh, Charlie's just checked on Google. You can survive 15 to 30 minutes in 4 degrees water if you're swimming. Well, people do swim like the Channel and things like that, don't they? I know they're prepared for it and what have you. Listen, Nikki, she may have fallen in the water. Still does not take away from the fact that she was not found for 23 days. If what happened was what he's saying that happened, that she floated down and around, even if she drowned because of the cold water shock, even if all that, why was she not found? All the searches that were done is basically what he's saying is his divers are incompetent. Peter Folding's incompetent. All the waders, all the sensors and things that they sent out, the Coast Guard, all the people that were out there are all totally incompetent. I mean, come on. Yeah, and why didn't she? I think that's a good point, Annie. Why was her phone on the bench if she slipped and fell? Why wasn't she holding her phone, or why wasn't the phone in her pocket, or and she was a strong swimmer. And one good thing that's come out of that testimony that's just been given now is no alcohol in her system. So all those aspersions cast about her having problems with alcoholism, etc. A load of bollocks. And why didn't the dog bark? Even if the dog didn't go in because it was cold, why didn't it bark? Why did it not cry? What did it do? Just sit there and watch her go in? I mean, come on. We were talking about that earlier. There's no way that dog would have just sat there and watched that happen without at least barking and crying or... well, let's see. Let's go back. I personally, this is like the police narrative, isn't it? What are they trying to? They're trying to prove that they were right from the beginning, but they still have not either pointed out I just want to know who saw her there in the first place. Nobody saw her there. Overhanging trees, yeah. We're still up to overhanging trees. What is he trying to sort of illustrate there? Because he's illustrating that maybe she fell in and she couldn't get out, but he's still not explaining why nobody saw it happen. Nobody heard the dog crying. We're talking about 10-minute window, aren't we? Because they were saying it was like 10 minutes. Time unaccounted for. So in that 10 minutes, nobody... Oh, God. So conflicting everything. I want to know what the actual timeline is. I mean, was Willow found there straight away, or was Willow found an hour later that Sally Riley said in one of the press conferences that she did? What is the true thing? Was she tied up or wasn't she tied up? Who found her? Who found the phone? Who phoned the school? Okay. So now we're talking about the weir. So PC Thackeray now discusses a weir. The water flows fast over the weir and below the weir. The river is tidal, he says. He goes on to point out several snag hazards, such as fallen trees and vegetation. Sorry, I'm just starting to get a little bit angry now and upset. He goes on to point out several snag hazards, such as fallen trees and vegetation, which weren't searched by the police when they arrived at the scene and started diving at 4 p.m. on the day Nikki went missing. However, the fire service did search this area in a boat, the inquest is told. So basically what he's saying, that she might have been snagged, you know, that by then if something had if she had drowned, she may have been, there was these snag hazards such as fallen trees and vegetation that weren't searched by the police. So do you want to tell me why they weren't searched by the police when you thought right from day one, from minute one, that Nikki had gone into the water, but you didn't bother searching the snag hazards? However, the fire service did search this area in a boat. So what does that mean then? So basically they're saying they didn't search. Are they saying she went over the weir then? Oh. Do you know, I don't think, it's not, this is total, it's not corruption to me. It is just incompetence, complete incompetence. You know, he's an expert, they're experts. Sally Riley said they'd had everybody out there searching for Nikki with the waders, the sonar things, the bloody, you name it, they were there searching for Nikki. And now he's saying they didn't search the snag hazards. However, the fire service did, but they didn't find her. They still haven't proven to me that she was even there in the first place. Are we all okay, or are you all getting as angry as me? I mean, it's just, yeah, what's he saying now? Is he saying, he's like, yeah, the fire service. The fire service's fault. We didn't search, so it's not our fault because we just didn't even fucking bother searching in the first place. But fire service searched and they didn't find her. Peter Falding searched, and so it's all their fault. So a little bit mad, Jackie. I'm starting to get really angry at just the casualness of saying that. Oh, you know, well, there's these snag hazards, but we didn't search them, even though from day one, from minute one, they said she'd gone into the river, but they didn't bother searching the snag hazard. So they went back in April to check these things, but at the time they didn't check for them. Come on. Oh, dear me. Very, very annoying. Incompetence, total incompetence in my eyes. Let's see what else he's got to say. Not looking good, PC Thackeray. You know, you're supposed to be an expert. Basically what you're saying now is all this you looked into after, but at the time when you were supposed to be actually looking for it, you didn't bother. Oh, sorry, hang on, I've just got to look at something on my phone. Oh, I wonder how Nikki's family are thinking about this. They must be thinking, so he left us for 23 days wondering what had happened. You know, and now you're saying that you didn't search. Hell no. God. Oh gosh, I frightened myself to death then. Yeah. So yeah, we just 23 days we didn't search, but the fire people did. So if they missed it, it's their fault. Peter Falding's fault, etc. But not our fault. But we didn't search. Yeah. I think we're all a bit angry at the moment, aren't we? Can we appeal? Yeah, well, we've got to see what happens in the end. So yeah, it may well be, to be honest, that the fire service, what is it going to be like, some sort of bun fight between them all as to say who's the least incompetent? No, this thing about the blue glove, I don't, is that been confirmed that there was anything about a glove or a boot or whatever? I've not seen anything official confirmed about that. But yeah, they're passing the book. They're going to pass the book in between them all. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they didn't allow Peter Folding to go in, and then they could have blamed it all on him, couldn't they? Or they just left him out so they can blame it on him. I don't know, but unbelievable. There must be some gasping. No wonder he warned people about contempt of court. I bet people are going mad. You know, it's winding us up. And imagine if you're actually there and you're like, what? Okay, so he hasn't said anything more yet. So while there's a little lull, I just acquaint anyone who's just joined us what's going on so far. So no alcohol in Nicky's system. However, they think the classic signs of asphyxia, but the conclusion that the Home Office pathologist came to is that she died of drowning. She had some bruises, but she didn't think that Nicky had been attacked before she went in the water. What were the other things? There was quite a few things. Then we've been listening to the police diver give his evidence, saying that it's very steep, and if somebody fell into the water at the point of the bench, they would have found it difficult to get out, etc. And that's what he went along to do, that test of floating on the top of the water to see if he could get out or whatever. And the water was 4 degrees centigrade, so that would be very cold, etc. And then he went on to say that there were some snag points, but they weren't searched by the police on that day, but the fire service searched them. So that's the last thing that he's just said. He's talking about the weir. He says the water flows fast over the weir, and below the weir the river is tidal. There are several snag hazards such as fallen trees and vegetation which weren't searched by the police when they arrived at the scene. Oh, one of my dogs has just come down and started diving. But so the police didn't search, but the fire service did search the area in a boat. That's where we've got to so far. So it just sounds like they didn't search very well on the day. Even this is what I can't get over. They're so determined, even from that minute one, that Nicky had gone into the water. But now what they're telling us is that they didn't search the snag hazards. So if they were so 100% certain that she had gone in the water, why didn't they search? They said they did. You know, they said in all the police conferences then after that, all the things that they were doing and the people that were looking and the Coast Guard and the fire service and the waders, and they said they were doing all that, but now it seems like they didn't. So they left, if it's true what he's saying, that she slipped into the water, they left Nicola's family 23 days before they found her. They never seem to look that hard to me. Anytime I saw, like, you'd see, oh, we are. Police evidence continues. So at 12:21, the last update, PC Thackeray is asked about his experiences of deaths by drowning, where the water depth is sufficient to be able to stand up. He says, I have attended a number of deaths where the water is chest deep. So I'm trying to imagine that. I mean, he's probably quite tall. Of course, there's a difference between his chest deep probably and my chest deep, because I'm short like Nicky was. But I've attended a number of deaths where the water is chest deep and with a flat bottom with no flow to the water. You could avoid drowning by keeping calm and standing up. However, it doesn't happen like that when you suddenly enter cold water. You gasp and you breathe in water, and these drownings could have been prevented if they had kept calm and kept your head above the water, but it's never that simple. in this case, you can't put your foot down. The river was moving, and even if you've got to the point of safety, it's difficult to climb out. Okay, fair enough. But so nobody saw that though then? You know, that nobody saw that. He said that she's floated down the river, but nobody saw it. Nobody heard her scream. The dog didn't cry. We still don't know who actually even saw her down by the river in the first place. Okay. So, the water is chest deep and with a flat bottom with no flow to the water. You could avoid drowning by keeping calm and standing up. Well, you know, I expect she didn't keep calm. If she did fall into the water, she was probably scared and that, but she could swim. She could swim. What are we all thinking in there? Let's see, I'm going back to the chat now. So Julia, family and friends, said she was very careful while out walking and didn't go near the river. But see, this is the way I look at it. You go there, you know, maybe I would go there, and maybe, yes, Mrs. Unique. So far, it's saying that she drowned, and we're going into the details of it. Yeah, so if I went walking there, I don't know that area, I don't know the river, I could probably much easier fall in than someone who did know the area. But even Nicola's relatives, Nicola's neighbour, didn't she? She said, we all do that walk every day and we've all managed not to fall in. So the ball in the water, Pauline. Well, there was no ball, according to Emma. Definitely no ball. Definitely no ball. And I'm not being funny, but if you've got a tennis ball and it goes into the water, are you really going to risk your life for a £2 tennis ball that you can get? You know, you're really going to just go and try and get a tennis ball. It's not made of gold, for God's sake. You just think, oh, that ball's gone. We've lost loads of things in the sea. You know, you throw things for your dog when you're at the beach. And often they get sort of like sidetracked with other things, so they don't bother going and fetching it. Well, you're not going to go and swim out to get a plastic ball that you can, you know, get. And, you know, well, So, all right, her fit. So, Lady Dog Lover is saying her fit. Well, they haven't mentioned the Fitbit yet, but the Fitbit does my head in because everyone talks about it, but we haven't seen any evidence of that either. But what she's saying is her Fitbit tracker showed she normally walks zigzag across the fields, keeping away from. Yeah, you don't actually have to go anywhere near the river's edge, do you? But what if she was pushed in? See, this is the whole problem that I think that the coroner has got. How is the coroner going to prove that she fell in? You know, even if it's proven that she drowned, or even though if he decides that, yes, she drowned, how will he know how she ended up there in the first place? You know, how would they know? Yeah, and as Beverly says, yeah, 40 detective media blackouts, gagging of free speech, all for a simple case of drowning. Yeah. Yeah, she could have been pushed in. I thought that is the last push. The last push could have happened, but yeah, Jennifer, how many toys, balls, things for your dogs and what have you do you live? I've probably, if I put all the money together for every toy that I've ever bought for the dogs, I'd probably be a millionaire. But they're always losing them. You know, you throw them in the cat. You know, you throw them and then you can't find them. Or they go in, I don't know, some water or whatever. You're not going to. They're not worth like risking your life to try and get a ball. But wouldn't they have found the ball? Wouldn't they have found the ball? Anyway, let's go back to it again, see if there's any... Okay, right, so we still are. Now we've got the KC, the barrister, Sophie Cartwright, the barrister representing Nicky's family, is now asking PC Thackeray some questions. He needs asking some questions. He says that his advice, if you fall into cold water, is to float. If you try to swim, you are impaired, he says. Your muscles seize and you tire very quickly. So this guy's supposed to be an expert. He's been doing this for 8 years, but they still didn't check the snag. The bit that he admitted were places where a body could get snagged. They didn't check that. The snag hazards, the fallen trees and vegetation. He's some sort of expert, supposedly, but they never check the snag hazards. Okay, so there you go. We've got some advice there from PC Thackeray. I think we all don't like him already. If you fall into cold water, float. But, you know, I'm not being funny, but who's going to fall into cold water? When is that going to happen? You know, Nicky had made this walk, as I say, day in, day out for years and years and years and never fallen in the river. Nobody's fallen in the river. You know, all the people that walk there every day, Ron, he's quite an old guy, you know, they haven't fallen in the river. Okay, now we're getting some more expert evidence being heard. We've got Professor Mike Tipton from the University of Portsmouth and Dr. Paddy Morgan. They have jointly produced a report looking at the mechanism by which a person dies from drowning, and they are giving evidence together. Professor Tipton has published more than 750 papers on the physiological response to extreme environments such as cold water. Dr. Morgan is a consultant anaesthetist. Oh God, I hate that word. It's so difficult to say. Anaesthetist. Anyway, he is also medical director for His Majesty's Coast Guard. So bearing in mind the Coast Guard were there as well. Everybody was there on that first day. And he says that he and Professor Tipton lead the world in terms of expertise. What, he says that himself? He and Professor Tipton, oh, so there you go. World leading, world beating. I remember he used to say that during COVID, etc. World beating. So he's saying this himself, not somebody else saying it about him. He's blown his own trumpet here and saying he and Professor Tipton lead the world in terms of expertise. So let's see what they've got to say then. So basically what he's saying is that whatever we say, you've got to just believe it because we lead the world in terms of expertise. Well, maybe they do, but we'll see. I mean, do you think, I don't know, will he contradict? Oh, I don't know. Come on, let's have your expert evidence. Gosh. Yep, there's no praise like self-praise. Well, I'm a world-beating teacher. I lead the world in expertise with teaching Spanish. I mean, what a thing to say. You know, we are world leaders. Somebody else could say that, you know, if the coroner might even say that, but I don't think you're supposed to say that about yourself, are you? You know, it just seems a bit like, you know, it doesn't bode well, does it? Because as soon as you hear that they're saying that about themselves, you think, okay, obviously think of what. Well, yeah, you're right, Rooster. Peter Falding is an expert. He didn't go around saying what an expert he is. It's like, you know, everybody else says what an expert he is, and yet his testimony was completely discounted. Yeah. Do you think people are getting annoyed? I don't know. I'll find out when I get to talk to the people that I know that are there. I'll get to find out if there's been like lots of gasps or what the family's reactions has been, etc. Yeah, let's see. Has it come up yet? No. So they're giving evidence together. Expert evidence is now oh no, that's yeah, they're giving their evidence now. We haven't had a summary. So I'll go back to just giving a summary of what we've heard so far for any of you that are just coming in. So the cause of death has been given, well, it was given as asphyxia and drowning, which I thought they were separate things, but apparently they're not. No sign that Nicola was attacked before she went into the water, although she did have several bruises. Then the police gave their evidence, the police diver. His evidence, basically, I think he's more or less saying that she could have slipped down the bank and she wouldn't have been able to get out. In his opinion, she would have floated down the river. But he has no explanation of then, if that was true, why she wasn't found or nobody saw her. You know, it all sounds very plausible what he's saying, but then, why wasn't she found for 23 days when he's saying this is exactly what happened to her? So, and what's currently happening at the moment is Professor Mike Tipton and Dr. Morgan, who they are declaring that they lead the world, or Dr. Morgan declares that he and Professor Tipton lead the world in terms of expertise they produced a report looking at the mechanism by which a person dies from drowning. They're giving evidence together. Professor Tipton has published more than 750 papers on the physiological response to extreme environments such as cold water. Now, bearing in mind that apparently on the day the water was 4 degrees centigrade. And then the other guy is Dr. Morgan, a consultant anaesthetist, and he's medical director for Her Majesty's Coast Guard. And he says that he and the other guy, Professor Tipton, lead the world in terms of expertise. And they are the people at the moment that are giving their evidence, and we're just waiting for there'll be a summary of that evidence of what they think. And actually what I'm going to just look at while they're doing that, while we're waiting for that, is I'm going to look to see how long you can survive in 4 degrees. Well, what? Yeah. Here it's saying that because Charlie also looked at this earlier, and that's what's given me the idea. So thanks for that, Charlie. So 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, 15 to 30 minutes before exhaustion or unconsciousness. Expected survival time 30 to 90 minutes. Yeah, so that's actually quite a long time, isn't it? But anyway, so PC Thackeray seemed to think that Nicola wouldn't have been able to get out of the water, but they didn't bother checking the snag risks bits and things when they searched. But he said that the fire department did, So basically what he's saying, it's not our fault we didn't find her because we never looked in the first place. So it's not our fault we didn't find her because we just didn't bother looking. But the fire department looked and they didn't find her. And of course, Peter Folding looked and he didn't find her. So it must be their fault, but it can't be our fault because we never bothered looking in the first place. Gosh. So we still haven't got any update on that. Let's have a look what you're all saying. So yeah, what were the bruises? What were the bruises? You know, are they, how would she, oh, look at that, Essex Boys Outlaw. So Sky News now are talking about disturbances outside and having extra security in place. Let's have a look. I would imagine there's quite a lot of disturbances going on because people are going to be angry. Because, well, let's see what Sky News have got to say. Can't wait to find out from the people that I know that are actually there exactly what the scene is like. I hope there, you know, I thought there's going to be some problems there. So apparently earlier people were turning up without, you know, people were turning up even though they hadn't been given a place at the inquest. You know, so there was a lot of people being turned away because they hadn't applied for a place and they didn't have a place. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, they're talking about no evidence Nicola Bulley was harmed before she drowned. Oh, okay, let's go. So now we're going to hear, sorry, I was looking at Sky News, but I'm going back to the Manchester Evening News. The inquest was told that Miss Bulley would have drowned, so Nikki would have drowned in 1 or 2 breaths. Professor Tipton, who is world-beating leading, because he told us he was, the lethal dose of water into the lungs with fresh water is 2 litres. In that first breath, for a person of similar weight to Nikki, you would have taken in 1 to 2 litres. So it would only take maybe 1 or 2 breaths to cross the lethal dose. Professor Tipton is shown what Nikki was wearing on the day she went missing. Oh, well, good. Are you going to tell us what she was wearing? Because that's something else that they told us all different things. We never got to grips with the actual, you know, what was she actually wearing? They changed that about 3 different times. There was no real protection in the clothing that Nikki was wearing on the day. Water would very easily get under that clothing. He goes on to explain that when a person enters cold water, their heart output and blood pressure increases and they have no control over their breathing. Okay, there you go. That's the expert. Right, I'm going to go back to Sky News now and have another look what they're saying because I want to see what they're saying about disturbances, if there are any. So the thing is, you only get the narrative from the mainstream media that they want to give you. So I'll be interested to see what the people I know that are actually there are going to tell me about what the scene is like, you know, what the actual scene and what people's reactions are to these things that are coming out. I can't see anything here about. Yeah. So I'm not going to actually put Sky News on because we'll just look through it we'll go on the updates that we get from Manchester Evening News, because they've been quite good, I think. And then when it comes to the lunch break, I am going to go off then for a while, so because I'll need to have some lunch. We'll all need to have some lunch, won't we? And when it comes to the lunch break, I'll come off, and then I'm hoping that I might get some news directly from there during the lunch break. I'd be very interested to see what the reactions are actually in the court to these things that they're saying. So they've sort of summed it up here again. Key events for those of you that are just coming in. I can see there's a lot of you, there's so many people that are interested, and you're probably, like me, having a look at all different, trying to look at all different updates. But basically so we've got the evidence from the pathologist reveals classic signs of asphyxia, cause of death given as drowning, no alcohol in her system. In her opinion, I just still think that's quite strange. No alcohol in her opinion. Well, didn't she do a test? I mean, did she have it or didn't she? Anyway, inquest told Miss Bulley would have drowned in 1 or 2 breaths. All right, here's another update. Those first seconds in the water, people really aren't considering anything else. As Professor Tipton was asked how a person would respond psychologically to entering cold water. I know that I'm not going to like this, but anyway, he says, you are absolutely preoccupied with the challenge you are being presented with. Those first seconds in the water, people really aren't considering anything else. We have heard people talk about routes to grab onto and points of safety, but you would not be thinking about that. You are preoccupied with attempting to hold your breath and get back to the surface. There is no normal logical cognition going on. You are absolutely distracted, and entering such water is a painfully cold experience. Right. Okay. Okay, well, he's the expert. He's told us he is. So what can we say? I'm just wondering, who is this guy again? Let me see. So was it Professor Mike Tipton? Yeah, Professor Tipton. So he's from the University of Portsmouth. And him, along with Dr. Paddy Morgan, jointly produced a report looking at the mechanism by which a person dies from drowning. Okay, and he has published more than 750 papers on the physiological response to extreme environments such as cold water. Okay, so he's saying, if you go into the water, you're absolutely preoccupied with the challenge you're being presented with, and those first seconds in the water, people really aren't considering anything else. We've heard people talk about routes to grab onto and points of safety, but you would not be thinking about that. You are preoccupied with attempting to hold your breath and get back to the surface. There is no normal logical cognition going on. You're absolutely distracted, and entering such water is a painfully cold experience. I should imagine it is a very painfully cold experience. I'm presuming that after they've, said all this, they're going to tell us why Nicola wasn't found for 23 days, then, if they're convinced that this actually happened. Yep, he's the world leader, self-proclaimed world leader. So, we've got to believe him, haven't we? But when are they going to tell us? I'm sure he is an expert, Vanessa. Of course he is. But like you said, it's just no need to say so himself, though, is it? But I suppose he's just trying to, assert his knowledge or authority or whatever. But oh, by the way, don't forget to like the video. I forgot to say that. I've forgotten all about the thumbs ups and things. But if you don't mind, if you like is not the right word to say, is it? But let me just look back through your chat. Yeah. Yeah, why was the phone not in her pocket, or not? Why was the phone on the bench? So what was she trying to get Willow, or was she trying to get a ball? Well, if she was, where is the ball? Where is it? That even Paul himself said he thought that the phone was a decoy. He said that. So surely they've got to show. Why did you put the phone on the bench, and why did the police make that weird comment that at a certain time the phone moved to the bench? Not that Nicola put it on the bench. The phone moved to the bench. That's what they kept saying, and I don't think we've really, so far, I don't know if it's just me, you'll tell me, but I don't think we've had anything really explained so far, have we? Do you feel that you know more now than you did before? I mean, well, we know that there was no alcohol in the system, and we know that ostensibly a cause of death was drowning. Oh, so Professor Tipton said that Miss Bulley would have lost consciousness in a matter of seconds. He said that the temperature of the river wire on the day Nikki went missing was 4 degrees, so a person would lose consciousness within around 25 seconds. Well, that's not what it just said on Google. It said 10 to 15 minutes, but there you go. He's a world leader. It is a very rapid incapacitation, he adds. He explains that it is not solely the exchange of water and oxygen which leads to a person drowning. As well as taking up space in the lungs, normally filled with oxygen, the water damages the lungs. The alveoli are collapsing, says Professor Tipton. Well, I mean, it's an awful thought, but if that is what happened, I hope it was quick. But again, I'll just keep coming back to the same thing over and over again. Why was she not found? If they reckon she was floating around, or all those people looking for her, and she wasn't found for 23 days. What's the explanation for that? Nobody, and well, I can't see that she just fell in. So did she jump in? I suppose that's the next thing. Did she jump in? Was she pushed in? What they're saying is that's what happened, and why didn't they find her? Are they going to go into that? So how many witnesses have we had so far? Because wasn't there supposed to be 14 witnesses today? 14 witnesses today. That's what they said earlier. Gosh, that feels like a lifetime ago now. I'll tell you something that I'm going to do is I'm going to just screenshot the chat, because unfortunately on this StreamYard thing you can't get the chat to, it doesn't save. And God, there's so much chat, don't think I'll be able to. God, that go on forever. Yeah, they said that there were so many witnesses were going to be called today. Was it 14, I think? And let me have a look at Mr. Williams's tweet. And then we can work out how many we've had so far. Because so far we've had the policeman, So far, we've had the Home Office pathologist, the policeman, and now these two. So we've had 4 so far. And at the beginning of the day, Mark Williams Thomas oh gosh, I was criticising Mark Williams Thomas, but it's funny that he says exactly what I said, because it's interesting and disappointing it took the police so long to do that video that he was just talking about there. They never did that, like, did they, till April? Maybe they should have tried doing that closer to the day of the disappearance. That's just what I was saying. So anyway. Right, come on. I need to see when you said how many witnesses. 16 witnesses listed for today. So we've only had 4 so far. So I don't know how they're going to fit in another 12, because it was late when they got started. It makes me wonder if this might go on much longer, this this inquest, than what they're sort of what they initially thought. Because are they going to get through all those witnesses today? 16, so they've got 12 more to go. How are they going to get through them today? But anyway, we'll see. Right, so it hasn't updated from when he said that she would have lost consciousness in a matter of seconds. Let's see a couple of things that Mark has got to say.
Okay.
Right, so apparently Mark Williams Thomas, he said that the coroner set out the rules of the inquest as being a fact-finding exercise. The Lancashire Police and Council have put in place extra security measures because of the interest inside and outside the court. Coroner warning of potential disruption. So this didn't come up on the Manchester. So she was identified by her dental records, and they say she died. What? Died on the 19th of February. What do they call the day of her death? Was that when she was found? 19th of February. Anyway, post-mortem findings summary. Rigor had passed. She was covered in mud, a blood stain on her chin, early marbling effects on parts of body decomposition. That's not very nice. We don't really need to know that probably. But going back, Nikki alive when she entered the water. No injury to neck. Both lungs enlarged. No fractures on the remainder of her body. No alcohol in body. No third-party involvement, died by drowning. Yeah, no alcohol again. So, that Lancashire police driving expert who never bothered searching the river, yeah, he believed Nicola entered the water at the bench. And he says that the police diving expert was contradicting himself as to the drop, saying it was more like 2 meters, not 1 meter. He has clearly not measured it. Right. Well, it did sound like a bit of an idiot, to be honest. So then they showed the video. He's talking about the video. I just don't believe that they could recreate. I mean, I know they're trying to recreate that day, but when he finally went and did this, it was ages afterwards, wasn't it? It was in April. So how could he recreate how it was on that day? Oh, dear me. Just seems like a just total load of twaddle, to be honest. Yeah. And then the last tweet that Mark Williams Thomas has made is that about why did it take the police so long to make that video? Which is exactly, you know, why didn't they do that earlier? Why didn't they find it? Now he's coming up and saying all this, but as if, anyway, right, let's see, there's been an update. So Dr. Morgan, now the other person who's like world beating expert, according to him, says that if someone has taken, she would have only been able to hold her breath for 1 or 2 seconds. If someone has taken an initial gasp, I may have read this already, I don't think I have actually. Dr. Morgan says that if someone has taken an initial gasp from the cold water shock, then goes underwater, the length of time they would be able to, you would be able to hold your breath is 10 seconds at best and more likely 1 to 2 seconds. He says that when the lung damage or the amount of water inhaled gets to a certain point, the heart will stop pumping and the brain switches off. Professor Tipton says that if Nikki had fallen in where it is suggested, there is a very good chance that the initial gasp would have happened under the water, which meant unconsciousness would have been far quicker. Well, it's not exactly an exact science, that, is it? There is a very good chance that the initial gasp would have happened under the water. What does that mean? Anyway, now Professor Tipton says, in my opinion, given the nature of the likely entry into the water at speed down a steep slope, I think Nikki had a gasp response under the water, which initiated the drowning response very quickly. She would have died in less than 10 seconds. Now, is it just me, or is it like, okay, so let's suppose that happened. God, this must be awful for a family to sit and listen to. Let's suppose that happened. So where was she then? Where was she all this time? So if she died in less than 10 seconds, so she'd go straight down to the bottom, where then was she? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know. Oh gosh, I hope we go to lunch soon, because this is just like, we know, Charlie, what you're saying there, they need to put up a big fence between the river and the bench. Now, on the very first day that Silly Sally was being interviewed, one of the reporters, one of the local reporters from the Lancashire Live, said to her, he wasn't talking about that, about a big fence. What he was talking about was, do you think you should have cordoned off the bench? And it just shows that right from the word go, they thought Nikki had gone in the river, because she said, oh, well, that's up to the council to do that. We can't really comment on, and it would ruin such a beautiful area and blah, blah, blah. And the guy said to her, oh, no, I was meaning, a police cordon. Do you think you should have put a police cordon around the bench? And she went, oh, yeah, so thank you, Sharon. I'll put you, there you go. I've got a new member there. Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so straight away, Nikki not Nikki, sorry, Sally. I'm getting a bit tired now. I hope they are going to lunch soon. Sally was just assuming, you know, that she'd gone in the river that way before they even knew anything. They never. How did they assume that so initially? Hi, 411. I know. I bet you've had to. It's just honest to God. We're like all a bit in shock ourselves, but there's still time to go. You know, there's still more experts to come out, self-proclaimed experts, but oh God, Vicky, so you managed to get yourself back out of Loch Lomond with cold water shock, and it was about 50 foot deep. Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it. You know, it's just like just don't believe it. So there you go. Right, let's see. Any other? Gosh, they must have heard me. So the inquest has now been adjourned for lunch. So I want to thank everyone who's been here with me so far. I know the 411. I know it's very sad. I am going for lunch as well. Shall we all go for lunch? We can have a think about it. I'm hoping that now during the lunchtime, some of the people that I know that are actually there, they'll be able to send me some more information, etc. And oh yeah, it's about Nessie. They'll be able to send me some more information. I'd be interested to see what the what's the word? What the reaction was in the court. I expect there were quite a few gasps of amazement there. Wendy's just had a breakfast. So I'm going to love you and leave you, but not for long. I'm going to go get something to eat, and I'll be back as soon as the inquest starts again. I'll be back with any new information that I've got. Thanks so much to all of you for being here with me. See you in about an hour. Thank you.